Let's stay in Otago. The central Otago township of Cromwell has seen spring heat records smashed. With the rising mercury ripening apricots so early, they've been harvested from one orchard in November for the first time in a century. While the nearby town of Roxburgh has suffered flash flooding, of course, Cromwell, dubbed the fruit bowl of the south, has been basking in hot, dry weather. Our Otago Southland reporter Timothy Brown has the story.
Heart of the desert, a sign claims in the settlement of Bannockburn, just out of Cromwell. It's certainly proving to be true this year, despite summer only officially starting today. NIWA meteorologist Ben Knoll says last month was the warmest November on record, with the town notching up a mean air temperature of 24.9 degrees Celsius, 4.6 degrees higher than average.
Cromwell has been very hot and dry this November. We've had a big ridge of high pressure over much of New Zealand, and Cromwell has been the epicenter of this very warm conditions. In fact, it reached 33.3, which was the warmest spring temperature on record.
Ben Knoll says those aren't the only records to tumble in the township, as spring featured the most 30-degree plus days ever, with 4. And November also had the most 25-degree plus days in its recorded history. That has been great news for orchardists, and Summerfruit New Zealand's chairman, Tim Jones, is predicting a bumper season for exporters.
Early stages, but I think the crop is hanging on trees for us to have a record year. The industry produced about 3,400 tonnes of export fruit in the last season, and I think if all things go well, we should exceed 4,000 tonnes this year, so quite a step up and would be a record for us.
Tim Jones says orchardists are seeing fruit coming in 10 to 14 days ahead of schedule. He says 2 apricot crops will be picked this year, one in January and one this month, which is very unusual. And for one Cromwell orchard, the weather has meant an unprecedented event, apricots in November. Webb's fruit owner, Simon Webb, says a new, earlier ripening variety of apricot being trialled at his orchard is already being picked, the first time the fruit has come off trees in November in the orchard's 100-year history.
We've had some years that our earliest apricots aren't coming off until mid to late December down in central Otago, so to have them coming off in November is extreme.
Simon Webb says the weather has not only impacted crop picking times, but their quality too.
The heat makes the summer fruit eat better, so the consumers are going to get a good sized piece of fruit that's going to be delicious, really. You know, what we're eating off the trees right now is just beautiful.
But a long, hot, dry summer isn't good news for all the town's industries. NIWA's Ben Knoll says stock and other crops will suffer if the heat and dry continues.
Plants are reaching their wilting point in some locations. So we are at some critical levels in terms of soil moisture, very low soil moisture across much of the South Island.
Mr. Knoll says this year's summer may be one of the toughest for farmers.
Certainly from an agricultural perspective, this may be difficult. Believe it or not, we've seen patterns like this before in years such as 2010, 2007, but we've seemingly turned it up a notch. Things are just warmer this go around than those previous years I mentioned.
And that may also spell trouble for firefighters. Cromwell Volunteer Fire Brigade's chief, Steve Shaw, says residents and holidaymakers need to use common sense.
Just got to be conscious about how dry things are, and then don't go lighting campfires and bits and pieces. They're a big risk. We'll just get away, and then they get hard to manage. So people just got to be careful.
A prohibited fire season has been declared in the area today, meaning fireworks and fires in the open air are banned. For Checkpoint, Timothy Brown.